Alrighty, as you do see, this is a cracked screen for this laptop, and technically all I really need to do is just change the display, but because this thing still has current on power, I do want to power this off. I do not want to have any current charge to mess up the cable or mess up the board from this display. Lots of times people try and do this without, that you'll be totally fine, but slight chance you put it angled or something like that, you could fry the connection. So let's safety shut this down. Now, for safety reasons, I am going to remove the power that's coming from the battery. The battery would be easier if it was able to pop up, but it is not. So I have to do this extra steps for it. So as you notice, this already has this right here for the bottom. I'm going to slide it up here. I'm going to need to do the same thing right here too. Try not, be very careful sometimes if you do this on some of them, or if it has been hot before on a vehicle or something like that, these things do break. So just do be careful. I'm actually going to use this tool right here. Might need to go one step down to 0 on the Phillips. There we go. Feels a little bit better. The screw should pop off. If not, I'll just loosen them up. Alright, now I'll take them out. They do have adhesive that's holding it down, so if technically if they just hold on that place, I may not even need to take off the screw. See, this one came off like nothing. Let me try this one again. That came off. These are pretty stuck, so I don't think they're really needed. Right now when I put it back, I'll screw them back in place and they should be good. Now usually they do have screws that are hidden underneath here, so I do want to pop that off too. Let me see if I could just slightly take it off without hurting them, but it's kind of hard. Up there with that piece right there. And I'm just going to see if I can pop this one off right here. There it is. Them too. Alright, so I need to take out these 2 screws too. You can do this option if you want to, you can skip this step, but I really do recommend for you to keep this unplugged from power. So now all it is the bottom frame. They do have some pretty strong frame that's on it. I'm just going to behind you see it doesn't come off. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and pop it out. You technically should use something different, like a bunch like this, but because it's so thick on these, I'm actually going to use this flat head and just use the side angle to pop it off. From that point, once it pops up, I can probably use the rest of this. It's still on there pretty good right now, so let me continue popping it off and see if we can get it. There it goes. And I can use this sponge. And do not try and put too much tension on this. If you do too much tension, you could break pieces that holds the frame in place. The only technically would be the whole thing, because again, you still have the screws that holds it in for it, but just for safe reasons, you don't want to mess it up too bad. So here we go, we got that off. And all I'm going to do for this system is to disconnect the connection for the battery. So they do have some tape they put on there, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off. And then this just needs to be slid back to unplug it. So there we go, that's out of the way. And for the time, I'm actually going to go ahead and just lay this back on the bottom because I don't want this to touch the bottom of the, well, this is pretty much grounded also. So everything looks good for right now. So next, this has some, depending on here, we might need to pop off the whole display on it. We would have to take a look right now. If it comes to a point of this, if I do, I'll take it off. But we're going to go ahead and just disconnect the frame that's put on. So you see on the top, it's actually already cracked on the top right here from them. So it's not the end of the world for that. Let's see if I can slide in somewhere in there. Look, there's some right here. So it's already been cracked, so that's one less problem for me if it's already somewhere already cracked before. Look at that, it's actually literally cracked. This is some very strong adhesive here. So there we have it. So that's coming off. It does seem that these are stuck together. So technically you might be able to slide back. Yes, it does. So that's a good thing. So it is coming off. This part right here is some metal that's still holding on to it. Some 3M. There it goes. Little bit of mess right now, but it's not the end of the world. And this is the display that we're seeing right now. See, they had all stuck together. This won't even matter. They just had a lot of 3M that was holding it stuck on there with it. So next we need to go ahead and disconnect the connections here. So there's cable, well not cables, there's screws right here, and then there might be some cables underneath, so you need to be careful on them. Try not to hurt them. I'm gonna go ahead and take off this screw. Go ahead and take off this one. And we're gonna see if this thing just slides back. So it is holding on pretty good. Usually they have some tape that you can just come and you can pull it up to allow it out. So if it does not have that option, we're going to might need to just slowly pop it back. Okay, so I'm gonna check real quick, and there is some adhesive that they have behind it. It does look there might be some stuff to pull underneath the bottom, very slow on there. So I'm actually going to go ahead and go ahead and take off the whole back. I'll probably be better off with that. I'll go ahead and close this in real quick. So there are connections here for this display. Do not lose these, they are important. Also be sure which ones you're taking off. They usually leave a mark on here, so you do have like arrows knowing, you know, where they belong. So this one has a little arrow, this one has an arrow. And I'm slightly going to pull it back a little bit. Allows this to slide back. Now also we do have the display. So the display is going to be underneath here. Be very careful with the wire, do not hurt it. And also there's all of these components. Be very, very careful not to touch anything. There we go, we have that disconnected. Then we have a cable that's going underneath here. That would be the first one for one. I'm going to disconnect that underneath. And we're going to need to do this one right here. That's for the camera. And then the other wireless right here on too. So now when I pull this up, that comes off. So here we are now. Now because again they have this little 3M tape that's holding it down, I'm actually going to go ahead and take out the screws here. Do take note exactly where the cables are. Sometimes on other ones, if you take the cables and put them in correctly, you could pinch them on the way later on the road when you have to put it back together. So this comes off. Not fully, it allows it to come off a little bit. But underneath here, I'm just slightly turning it, not really hurting it. There is this right here. Let's see if I can get to it and pull it out. Look at this. This is the adhesive that's holding it. Oh, partial it came off. That's not a good thing. That's all right. Let me try the other side first, too. It just loves to pop real easy. So I got that side out of the way. So this one's already broken already, is what it looks like. There's more adhesive here. I'm going to try and pull some out of the adhesive. There we have it. There we go. We got this off. There is some tape that's holding it down for the display. I'm going to go ahead and slide it back. And then we do need to disconnect it. Technically, it just pops off right there. Slide out, and there's the display. Now, before I put everything back in place, I do need to be sure all the wires are in correctly and put this back in correctly too. There we go. This actually will not matter at all because I'm actually going to put 3M tape behind these also. That's going to hold the display. So everything looks good on there. That's what in place. I'm going to put the other screw on there. And now let's put some 3M for it. somewhere. Now it doesn't need to be too much crazy, it just needs a couple just to hold it down. I just had scissors, but I think this will work too, right here. And we're going to need 3M on this part right here too. So there we have it. These two each go underneath. I just need to be sure how they are before we close it up. That will be important. That depends on either or. I need to remember how they were. Regardless, this is where we're going to put the display back on. The new one. This is the new display. Look how beautiful. This one's a little glossy, if I'm correctly. How it looks right now, when we take it off, it is matte, so don't get confused. So here I am sliding in place correctly. Be sure that pin locks. And I'm going to go ahead and put this adhesive back on there. And this is actually very good adhesive, so I don't really need to put any additional stuff. It's pretty much going to hold it in place. And now I just need to put the display back in. There. Now before I officially close it up, I do need to remove that adhesive, the cover for it. There's one. There's two. That's three, and there is the fourth one right there. Now when you do put this, be sure you put it from usually the top. If you don't put it in correctly, it might be slightly off on the bottom. So just be sure you put it in correctly. And slowly push a little bit tension. Don't push crazy, because if you do push too much tension, you will break that display. I'm literally just holding it just enough to hold the adhesive on there. And because I'm already here, and had pretty much already took the stuff apart, I can actually close up the front already. That's already broken from, I don't know how the hell they had that already. This might have been fixed before. Regardless, closing that up. Popping the pins back in place. This one has a little bit of adhesive that's sitting there still. So to paint on this thing did have some adhesive that was holding on to there. There it is. I got them out of the way. Let's popping it up right here too. These things do pin lock, so they should be perfectly fine. So let me try this again. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull this back and take out the display already. I already need this. And this is the top. That was broken already, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop that part in. This one part right here does not want to lock it in place. Let's take a look and see. Nope, everything looks perfectly fine. Maybe I can just pop in this part in first. Oh, that's why there's a little pin. It does not want to pop in exactly perfect there. Why is it doing like that? Let's see, it might have a broken piece already there. Oh, there it is. One of the pins is off. Pins, the plastic pins. Now let's try this again. That's a lot better. And here we have it. So now all I need to do is pretty much just need to get the display back on here. This is the bottom, well, middle frame. This needs to lay the direction how that is and how it was pinned in. Now we don't want to hurt these cables at all, so be very careful with them. I'm gonna lie up and back under, and there we have it. Oh, look, I did pin that up. Be sure to pull that out before we do this. Let's try this again. There we go. These wires go underneath and underneath there. Close this down. Right now I'll re-put all the cables back in. I don't know why I keep saying pins. And again, I have to slide this one down too, but be careful, do not hurt the wires. They do need to go underneath also, like this. Both of them too. And close it back down. And close up these screws. That's this one. This one. And someone's here, so give me one moment. Alrighty, now we're continuing again on this. Got the screws in for that side, continue on this. Let's see if any more customers come by, because it does happen pretty often for this. Is that the correct one? Yes, it is. Okay. Making sure I'm correctly getting the correct pin screw for the direction where it has. I don't know why I keep saying pin. It's stuck in my head so much. Depending on this, I'm probably just going to re-narrate this whole thing. So these wires need to go underneath. Oh my gosh, this is so much of a pain. There we go. I have to do it again right here. That is being very freaking pain. There we go. Okay. And there we have it. All the stuff back on there. Now all we need to do is just test it, because I really don't want to close it up before doing all this. So here's the cable for the battery. I'm going to go ahead and slide that part back in place. The light just came on, you can see it. And I'm pretty much going to pop it in there. And I'm not going to put the screws in yet. I do want to see if the screen does turn on. It might need power, especially for its first time. It did have light, just do not see it yet. There's the display. Look at that. Working perfectly. Look at the awesome system working again. All I need to do now is just shut down. Close this down. And put all the screws back in place. Going to put the corners. Thanks for watching, guys. If you disliked this video, then hit that button. But if you like it and you want to see more, hit that like button, get subscribed, comment, and tell us what other tech videos you want to see. Consider checking out our merch store, link in the video description. And for the rest, I will see you on the next video.